What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. I'm your host, Warren Thompson, and today we have to talk about that Venom post-credit scene since Venom is finally out in theaters. Venom: Let There Be Carnage is a fun movie, but unfortunately, I think most of everybody out there is going to be talking about that post-credit scene more than anything else. And needless to say, since this is a video explaining the post-credit scene, there are going to be some spoilers for the post-credit scene, so if you don't want any spoilers for Venom: Let There Be Carnage or its post-credit scene, you should click away now. But if you've seen it or you just don't care and you love spoilers, you have come to the right place, and if you're new, consider subscribing and hitting that bell so you don't miss out on any of the latest Marvel videos. Like I said, Venom was a fun ride. It was nice to see Carnage on screen finally, him going at it with Venom. Overall, the movie was okay, but it was really fun to watch, and the post-credit scene more than makes up for anything that we saw in the film. We finally see Venom on screen with Spider-Man. Well, on our screen, because Spider-Man was on a different screen for him. And make no mistake, this is a MCU post-credit scene. Yes, Sony and Venom are in it, but this is for the MCU. And this has huge repercussions. So in this video, we're going to break down this post-credit scene, but also talk about Spider-Man No Way Home, the X-Men, and a little bit about Thor: Love and Thunder, because it looks like maybe we could be seeing some symbiotes in Thor: Love and Thunder. But let's start with that Venom post-credit scene. In the post-credit scene, Venom and Eddie find themselves in a hotel, somewhere tropical because we know that they're on a beach, most likely in a Spanish country because on the TV they are watching a Spanish novela. Venom and Eddie seem to be getting along better than ever after the events of Venom: Let There Be Carnage, and Venom asks Eddie if he would like to see just a fraction of what he's been through and what his species has been through. Venom says 80 billion light years of knowledge across universes would explode your tiny little brain. Eddie asks what he's talking about, and Venom says, "I'll show you just a fraction. Are you ready?" And Eddie says, "Okay." And as he says okay, everything around him begins to change and kind of morph. The TV lights up and everything else kind of lights up around him and changes into a different place. He's still in the same room, but everything around him is different and much nicer. He started off in a really crappy hotel somewhere and ends up in a really nice resort room. He even sees the towels folded as swans, in which Venom says, "What the hell is that?" Now, Eddie Brock says, "What did you do?" And Venom says, "It wasn't me." This is super important, and I'll come back to this in a bit. We then hear Venom go, and Eddie goes, "What?" We then turn to the TV that shows J. Jonah Jameson for the dailybugle.net, showing us that Eddie and Venom are now in a different universe because where he comes from, there is the Daily Bugle, an actual print magazine, but wherever he is at now, whichever universe he is in, it is now the dailybugle.net. But after Eddie asks what, Venom says, "That guy," and of course it is Tom Holland's Spider-Man on screen, which Venom then licks. Bottom line of this post-credit scene is that Venom and Eddie are now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They somehow, by whatever cause of events, got dragged into the MCU. This is further established when a man comes out of the bathroom and he says, "Dude, what are you doing in my room?" Eddie looks around, back and forth, doesn't have any excuse for what just happened because he is completely confused and says, "I don't know." And that is the post-credit scene. Now, it's worth noting that this man doesn't seem to be all that surprised that a random strange man is in his room. He's very casual when he asks, "What are you doing in my room?" And this further backs up the fact that they are in the MCU, because the MCU has dealt with their fair share of, let's just say, weirdness. The Avengers have fought multiple villains, Loki, then Ultron, then Thanos came and snapped everybody away, and half of the people got snapped back. They've dealt with a lot over time, so this isn't really that strange to this man. Now, the TV confirms that Venom and Eddie are in the MCU because what is showing on the TV seems to be very similar to the post-credit scene of Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, in Spider-Man Far From Home, Tom Holland's Spider-Man never had his mask off. And this is very important to notice because this might not be the exact scene from the post-credit scene. This could be a scene from Spider-Man No Way Home. And the reason that this is important is because Venom says that he didn't do whatever just happened. He was not responsible for the multiverse shift. That means some other event brought them into the MCU. Now, we have multiple events that could have done this. If we do want to link him to Spider-Man, it could be Doctor Strange's spell that went wrong that brings all of the other multiversal villains into the MCU. We are not expecting Venom to appear in Spider-Man No Way Home, but perhaps he could appear in a post-credit scene. However, if this scene that they're showing on the TV is in fact the post-credit scene from Spider-Man Far From Home, even though we never saw him with a mask off, that would mean that the spell that Doctor Strange did has not happened yet. Which means that couldn't have been how Venom got to the universe, but there are plenty of other ways he could have. We know that Wanda in WandaVision did create a Nexus event. We also know the big event that happened in Loki that Kang made us aware of. And who knows what else is going on in the background of the MCU that we haven't been shown yet. So there are many ways that the multiverse shift could have happened, but the big thing to really take away from this is that Venom is now in the MCU, and it looks like he wants to eat Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Now, Andy Serkis and Tom Hardy have been saying that Venom and Spider-Man are going to meet in the future. They clearly knew about the post-credit scene since they did it, and it's very clear that when they're going to meet is very soon. I really wouldn't be surprised if Venom appears in Spider-Man No Way Home in some shape or form, and I wouldn't really be surprised if that was the post-credit scene for Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, as I mentioned, this post-credit scene is really an MCU post-credit scene because what this does is tell us that anybody from any other universe could get dragged into the MCU. And when I say this, I'm primarily talking about the X-Men from the Fox universe. Marvel Studios and Disney now own all of the rights to all of the Fox characters. All of the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, they're back home at Marvel Studios and Disney. Coincidentally, this means that not only could Marvel start their own new X-Men, but they can also use the previous X-Men from the already established movies. And based off of all of the reports that we've heard, this is what they intend on doing in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Reports tell us that they are going to bring back some old Fox characters like Professor Xavier. These characters will come into Multiverse of Madness in some way, shape, or form. However, it is reported that Professor X is going to be fighting Wanda at some point in time in the film. Now, all that's going to be super awesome to see, but the main point to take away from this is that, like Ultron said in What If Episode 8, with the multiverse, anything is possible. And they just showed us that by taking Venom and bringing him into the MCU, the universe in which he was not in before. Now, Venom has been around for a very long time. He said 80 trillion light years, and he says of hive knowledge. So a hive for the symbiotes. This makes me believe that somehow other symbiotes could appear in the MCU. And when I think about that, I think about Thor Love and Thunder because of Gore the God Butcher. Gore the God Butcher in the comics ends up possessing the all-black Necro Sword. And what that really is the very first symbiote. He would take this from an evil deity known as Null, who recently fought another god, in which both of them got very injured, in which Gore took the Necro Sword. Realizing that gods were real but didn't actually help people out, he would take the sword and go use it to kill other gods. Hence his name, Gore the God Butcher. The Necro Sword is how he is able to kill gods. And we know that he is the main villain of Thor Love and Thunder, so now that Venom has been dragged into the MCU, and Sony and Marvel are playing super nice with each other right now, it is possible that we could see some type of symbiote in Thor Love and Thunder, and could even perhaps see the all-black Necro Sword, which I think would be pretty freaking cool. But let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about the Venom Let There Be Carnage post-credit scene now that Venom is finally in the MCU. Let me know down below. Don't forget to like this video, and for live updates, you can always follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.